Hello, we're learning about slope and the rate of change today. I know I've got it where I can find the slope of a line given 2 points of the line, find the slope of a line given its equation, find the slope of horizontal and vertical lines, compare slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines, and find the slope as a rate of change. So key vocabulary today is slope, rise and run, slope-intercept form, positive, negative, and undefined slopes, and parallel and perpendicular lines. So the slope of a line is the rise over run. So it's the change in y over the change in x. And so you can see it right here that it's the change in y over the change in x. So we go up and then over from left to right. So number one says find the slope of the line containing points 4, -3, and 2, 2, and then graph the line. Okay, so we can graph it. We can plot it at 4, -3, and at 2, 2, and then I can draw my line. Let's see, and try to draw a straight line here, like that. Okay, so what is the slope? Well, you can count it from the leftmost point to the right point. So I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again, just make sure. So we're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2. So down 5 over 2. Now let me show you how you can do that with the points. So this is x1, y1, and x2, y2. So you can go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there'll be 2 plus 3 over 2 minus 4, which is 5 over -2. So this and this are the same thing. And you can see their graph is the same. So they're plotting at 2, 2, and at 4, -3, and then they're going down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2. Okay, find the slope of the line containing the points 0, 3, and 5, 2. So I'm going to go y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I get 2 over 2, so my slope is 1. And slope is denoted by an m. Find the slope containing the points 5, -4, and -3, 3. So I'm going to go, well, actually, this is one that you do. So go ahead and pause the video and try it. And you should have gotten slope is -7/8. Okay, here's another one for you to do. So just count this one. So pause the video. And you should have gotten 3/4. So you're going up 3 and over to the right 4. All right, so your slope is positive if it goes up from left to right. It's negative if it goes down from left to right. So we read from left to right, so that includes graphs also. Okay, slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So find the slope and the y-intercept of the line whose equation is y equals 2/3 x. So 2/3 is going to be the slope, and the y-intercept is -5, so that coordinate is 0, -5. So remember, it's y equals mx plus b, where b is your y-intercept and m is your slope. Okay, find the slope and the y-intercept of a line 2x minus 6y equals 12. So first, before we do anything, we have to put this line in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So the very first, all right, I'm going to write it over here. So 2x minus 6y equals 12. So how do we get this equation in slope-intercept form? First, I need to subtract the 2x. So I get negative 6y equals negative 2x plus 12, and then divide everything by that negative 6. So I get y equals 1/3 x minus 2. So I would say my slope is 1/3, and my y-intercept, remember it's a coordinate, which would be 0, -2. Because where you're intercepting the y-axis, your x is going to be 0. Okay, here's one, well, actually 2 for you to do. So go ahead and pause the video and try them. And you should have gotten 2/3 is the slope in C, and your y-intercept is 4. And in D, the slope is 3, and your y-intercept is 0, -4. Okay, so again, the slope of any vertical line is undefined, and that line would look like x equals -5. The slope of any horizontal line is 0, and that would be y equals. So if it's undefined, it's x equals, and if it's the slope is 0, it's just y equals a constant. And this is what they look like. So a horizontal line has a slope of 0, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. So number 3 says find the slope of the line with y equals -4. Well, I know that the slope is 0 because if I went down to -4 and I drew a line, my slope, I'm not going up any, right? So the slope would be 0 because I'm going up 0 and over whatever number. So 0 over any number is always 0. And that's what it looks like. Okay. B says find the slope of the line with x equals -7. So the graph is a vertical line at x equals -7, and your slope is undefined. Because here's why. So your slope is rise over run, right? So you can rise up any number of times, but you're not going over any. So anytime we have a 0 on the bottom or 0 underneath, the slope is undefined. So if 0 is under, it's undefined. All right, here's some for you to do. Pause it. And so the slope of the first one, you would get y equals -5. So that would be a slope of 0. And this one, you would get x equals 7 over 2. So anytime you have x equals, it's undefined. All right, here's again some just reminders what that looks like. All right, so parallel lines, 2 non-vertical lines are parallel if they have the same slope and different y-intercepts. So you can see parallel lines, same slope, different y-intercept. You can also tell if it's just an equation because you have the same slope of 2, but your y-intercepts are different. So whether it's a graph or equations, you can still tell that they're parallel. You can tell, okay, so perpendicular, if their slopes, the product of their slopes are -1, that's kind of weird. Basically, they're opposite reciprocals. So see this and this, they flip. So this one's b over a and this one's a over b. This one's negative and this one's positive. So they have the opposite signs and they're reciprocal of each other. So look at the example down here. You have -1/3 and a +3. So a negative versus a positive, and 1 over 3 versus 3 over 1. With perpendicular lines, your y-intercepts don't matter. You're only looking at your slopes. All right, so number 4 says determine whether the following lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So to do this, you're going to need to put them both in slope-intercept. So you're going to put them in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so to do the first one, you would just have to add the 5x to both sides. So I would get y equals 5x minus 6. The second one, I'm going to write it over here. Okay, so I want to get it in slope-intercept. So first I need to subtract the x. And then I'm going to divide everything by 5. So when I do that, I get, remember there's a -1 here, so -1/5 x plus 1. Now look at your slopes. So in here you have a 5, a +5 versus a -1/5. so you say they're perpendicular. This is the symbol for perpendicular because it forms a perpendicular line. Okay, B says determine whether lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So again, we're going to put them both in slope-intercept. So the first one, I'll do this over here. So 3x, well, 3x equals 2y plus 3. I need to get the y by itself, so I'm going to subtract that 3 and kind of flip it around. So 2y equals 3x minus 3. Divide both sides by 2. So get y equals 3 over 2x minus 3 over 2. And then the second one, 2x plus 3y equals 2. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides, and I'll get 3y equals negative 2x plus 2. Divide everything by 3. I'm going to get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2/3. So let's look at the slopes. Negative 2/3 and a positive 3 over 2. So I'm going to say those are perpendicular because they're opposite signs and reciprocal. All right. And now this one is for you to do. So go ahead and pause the video. And you should have gotten that C is neither parallel nor perpendicular, and then D is parallel. All right, number 5. Becky decided to take a bike ride up a mountain trail. The trail has a vertical rise of 90 feet for every 250 feet of a horizontal challenge. In percent, what is the grade of the trail? We're going to act like you can't see this right here. All right, so a vertical rise of 90 feet. So remember, slope is rise over run, right? So we're going to say 90 feet over every 250 feet. So if I divide that in my calculator, I get 0.36. So in percent, what is it? So we would say 0.36 is equal to 36%. So she has a 30% increase in the grade of the trail. It's also interpreted as the rate of change. It tells us how fast y is changing with respect to x. So slope is also known as the rate of change. Okay. I'm just going to cover this up. Well, maybe not. There we go. Okay. An inclined ramp leading to a warehouse is to rise 16 inches for each horizontal distance of 17 feet, with this slope as a grade round to the nearest percent if necessary. Okay, so here's something that you need to be really careful about. They do this a lot on standardized tests. 16 inches, 17 feet. Okay, so to be able to work this, we have to get everything in the same unit. So I'm going to change 16 inches to feet before I can start. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to use dimensional analysis. So there are 12 inches in every 1 foot. And I do this because inches will cross out diagonally. So I have 16 over 12, which is 4/3. All right, so now I can say I have 4/3 foot for every 17 feet. So it's rise over run. You know the 17 is over 1. So I'd say 4/3 times 1 over 17, which is 4 over 51. And we want to know what percent that is. So that's, I'm getting, when I do that, I get 0.078. So round to the nearest percent. So you would say 8%. And let's see if that is correct. There we go. So it's 8%, and they wanted to round to the nearest percent. So I would say 8%. All right. So I know I've got it when I can find the slope of a line given 2 points. Find the slope of a line given its equation. Find the slopes of horizontal and vertical lines. Compare the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. So you know here that parallel are the same, perpendicular are opposite reciprocal. And find the slope as a rate of change. And you do that in word problems. So, do you really understand? So explain the difference between the method you would use to find the slope of a line given 2 points that lie on a graph and the method that you would use to find the slope of a line given its equation. Give an example of a linear equation whose slope is undefined. Describe the graph of your equation. And then give an example of a linear equation whose graph is parallel to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 5, and a linear equation whose graph is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2/3 x minus 5. If you can do all of those things, then you do truly understand.